I simply asked the project leader one question: what problem are you solving? If you don't have that answer, take it behind the barn and shoot it, because it's a really bad idea. It has no reason to exist.
Kevin O'Leary is seriously concerned about mass adoption, and he has stated when this will happen, and it's not the time. Kevin has also mentioned when he thinks will mass adoption start, and what are the signals for that. So if you want to hear what Kevin thinks of the mass adoption, Ethereum, Solana, and Web3, then do watch the video until the end and subscribe to the channel if you haven't yet.
That's a great summary of where we're at right now, because there was so much anticipation back in Miami just over a year ago about regulation coming and an opening up of global markets, pension plans, sovereign wealth funds coming into crypto, and obviously none of that has occurred. And that is actually why we're in a rut that we are right now. It also remains a huge opportunity. There is 2 points of light that I think people should think about that look interesting right now. There were a lot of bills coming forward, bipartisan bills in the House and the Senate about trying to regulate crypto. Now it's consolidated down to 2 initiatives. They're both bipartisan. One is very important. Since we last talked, there was a collapse in stablecoins. About 100 billion evaporated. The most, because it was decentralized, it wasn't much, it wasn't all in the United States. So the regulator, while being unhappy, it's not a domestic problem. It was based on bankrupt ideas, the idea that an algorithm could somehow stabilize a coin against the US dollar. That's proven to be false. We've had lots of pundits, Jamie Dimon recently calling it decentralized Ponzi schemes. He was speaking specifically to stablecoins, I believe, in that statement. However, at the same time, this bill called the Stablecoin Transparency Act is making its way, it's getting close to markup. And the reason it's interesting is it only does one thing. It only deals with stable coins that are regulated and backed by the US dollar, nothing else. It's not trying to solve for NFTs, doesn't care about Bitcoin. It's basically going through legislation on a bipartisan basis as a payment system. And the reason you should be optimistic for this is, why both sides of the aisle support this is it basically overnight, should it get regulated, creates the very first global payment system backed by the US dollar, making the US dollar the default payment system globally. And it will be adopted by every country except North Korea, Russia, and China. And overnight, it will make America even a stronger nation in terms of settling for financial services. So it'll be the very first crypto policy that passes, probably sometime after November 8th. But everybody in here should be optimistic about that, because that signals the onslaught of more regulation that will deal with other digital commodities like Bitcoin and everything else. I mean, I don't have an option. I mean, I'm involved in so many different financial services companies, and also that issue securities under the mandate of the SEC. So, you know, we know the regulator, we know the system, and we don't breach it for any one project. We can't do that. It affects all the rest of the businesses. So, you know, going to your question about technology, I think if you think about mass adoption, there's 3 things that have to happen in, let's say, the next 24 months. The wallet has to work. And basically, the wallets, whether you're decentralized or centralized, for lack of a better word, are shit. Like they're just shit. And they're not safe, they're hard to use, the average person doesn't know what they're doing. The passphrase technology, everybody gets screwed the first time. You always start with, $250 and lose it immediately, you get it ripped off. It's always good to learn that, but that just isn't gonna work. So we're gonna have to, Web3 is about solving that problem. Number 2, we need security. You got to have much better security as you amass assets, even if it's just stable coins. But if you're starting to build a portfolio in today's world and you're putting some portion of your savings to work, I don't care whether you use Schwab or Fidelity or Interactive Brokers, you're not worried about security. They've solved that problem. They've built that trust. They've done it over decades, and you're happy to hold your assets. We got to solve that in Web3. You got to feel that there is security to where your assets are being held. And lastly, and just as important, the other 2, we need regulation. All these people that were founders of this fantastic nascent industry that think it can't be regulated, never should be regulated, I thank them for where they got us to today, but now I want them to get off the bus, and let the rest of us take this forward, because there's no way we're going to get that $1 trillion of assets in here without regulation. And that's the part that makes it mass adoption. When your grandmother wants to own some USDC, then you know you've made it. Just think about it. Right now, if you want to transfer, $350 to somebody, you bought something at a garage sale and they want $350 from you, Venmo, PayPal, Zelle. Have you ever looked at the fees on those things? And so I'm not criticizing the services, they work, but the minute you give an alternative, such as a stablecoin, which you can go under the chain and just transfer to somebody for a fraction of that fee, well, I mean, people go to the path of least resistance. They always do. And so, providing stability for payment systems on the chain and regulation for it is going to be very, very disruptive, because it's going to be so inexpensive, and it works internationally. So there's none of this, oh, I can't do it in Switzerland, or I can't pay for my meal in London or Paris. All that goes away. It just evaporates, because the vendor at your Guide Michelin restaurant in Paris that you're having dinner at is saying, oh, you got a stable coin? Here's my wallet. Boom, pay your bill. And all of a sudden, that 3.5% that you were paying to whichever credit card you had, that is peeling off 150 basis points for themselves. I mean, I invest in all of these platforms because they make so much money. I mean, it's fantastic. But I'm also going to invest in Circle and other, because I know those guys are going to disrupt the credit card companies. So I've made a ton of credit cards, but now, I mean, this is going to get crazy, because there's going to be a hell of a competition. It's going to be really interesting, because the minute I can use a stable coin on my phone, why am I going to use anything else? It's cheaper. I save money. That's the whole point. And all of a sudden, by word of mouth and by the fact that it's ubiquitous in every country that adopts it, everybody uses it. There you have mass adoption. And mass adoption starts to occur not at 100 or 1,000 or 100,000 users a day. It's 1 million a day. It's people saying, oh, this is the new standard. I'm taking it down. I'm going to download this app. I'm going to start using it. That's the potential of this. So you want to be invested in some of those projects, because they're going to be that disruptive. And it's all about the thing when, people always say, oh, this is a great societal reason for it, and it's burning less carbon and all that stuff. That's all great. But at the end of the day, what motivates people? Money. That's what they understand, and saving it. Everybody in every language, everywhere on earth cares about saving money. I simply asked the project leader one question: what problem are you solving? If you don't have that answer, take it behind the barn and shoot it, because it's a really bad idea. It has no reason to exist.
So that's what Kevin thinks of Ethereum and Solana. But do you guys agree with him? If yes, then why? And no, then which project do you think have the things Kevin mentioned? Do let us know in the comment box below. Now, if you have found the content helpful, then don't forget to give this video a thumbs up, and do subscribe to our channel for more content like this. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you guys again next time. Goodbye.